Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on this Wildcat Wednesday. Fortunate enough to be joined by Sherry Nelson.
Good morning.
And we were just talking about a trip that you were fortunate enough to take and do so with some of your 4-H students.
I was.
And I'm going to let you explain exactly where you went. But the fact of the matter is you came back with ultimate training that's going to help us conserve our waterways.
That's correct. Yes, in early February, myself, another volunteer, and 3 of our 4-Hers in the district traveled to Ames, Iowa, to Iowa State University.
That may be what we were talking about during the break, was Ames, Iowa. But anyway, you're up at ISU.
Yes, we're at ISU. They wrote this program. We received a 4-H Ag Innovators Experience grant. It's sponsored by Bayer Corporation and National 4-H Council. And these kids, this year's challenge is Water Connects Us All. What is the one thing we all have to have?
Water.
Water.
What do we take for granted?
We take water for granted every day. So this challenge this year is called the Water Connects Us All Challenge. So we took 3 team leaders to Iowa State. They received training on the program. In turn, they came back. This past Saturday, we held the training here in our district at Greenbush Camp. We trained 17 more youth.
It's amazing.
Those 17 youth are then charged with going out and teaching 1,000 kids. That's the goal, is to reach 1,000 kids.
Because essentially what you've done is you did the train the trainer, and,
Right.
and of course that follows through with those 17. But you've done this in the span of 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's the amazing part about
Yeah.
it. Now, there's a specific age group that this is targeted to. Am I correct with that?
Right, yes. This particular program is written to target kids in the 3rd to 8th grade. So we've got kids a little older. We have some kids in about 7th or 8th grade that are going to be helping teach it as well.
So that's interesting to me when you target the 3 through 8th graders, because like we said, as adults, we take it for granted.
Right.
As children, of course they are, and they're not going to think about long-term ramifications or anything like that. So my question is, how do you specifically tailor that training to reach an age group like that, and you know, make them see the importance
Right.
for something that they're like, well, what's the big deal? I got a water fountain in school.
Exactly. Well, this is a very hands-on training. The kids will actually get a chance. There's several models that they'll build. They get to build a model of a wetland, and that is an interesting model because those kids make the wetland at first, and we have some blue water that we have blue food coloring in, so it's blue, and then we have red water that we pour off of their wetland that runs into the blue water, and it shows that's the red water represents nitrogen or pollutants in our water. So when it runs into our blue water, it turns it purple, so it makes it dark and unappealing. So in turn, after they've done that part of it, they'll go in and they'll create a wetland. They add a sponge right next to their wetland area, and then we do the same thing. We pour the nitrogen in, and that sponge just soaks it up, and kids just really get into seeing that visual and seeing how that works. And the key, one of the key elements is we stress that soil is like a sponge, so it absorbs the water, but it also absorbs all the nutrients and pollutants that are coming through. So by creating some wetlands and some other engineering practices, we can help filter out water.
You were telling me up at Iowa State that you being from the Wildcat District, you had students from Minnesota, of course, based there in Ames. So different parts of the United States and geographic regions are going to have their different water concerns.
Sure.
Specifically when we look at the Wildcat District, your area, what do we need to have kids have top of mind?
Well, I think the most important thing is that, it only takes one person to make a difference. I mean, even if it's something very insignificant, if one person, for example, one of the engineering practices is a rain garden. If one person puts a rain garden into their yard and keeps the pollutants from running off into the storm gutters, and all of that, that helps clean the water down the line. So just imagine if it's a snowball effect and it keeps rolling. I think kids really get into that when they realize that they can have an impact. And especially young kids, they get all excited about that. So.
Well, and like you said, it's not like you're sitting in a classroom preaching up at a lectern. This is actually hands-on. So if you have the goal of reaching 1,000 children from grades 3 through 8, you've got to have some upcoming seminars. I don't want to call it a seminar. I want to call
Right.
it an educational opportunity.
Yeah, these 4-Hers that have been trained, a lot of them are going to take it back to their schools and go into some of the classrooms.
Okay.
We're also doing after-school programs. We're going to be doing the Earth Day that they hold in Parsons, which reaches about 900 fourth grade students right there on one day. But we're also going to be teaching it at the statewide Discovery Days, 4-H Discovery Days at the end of May, and several other opportunities that the kids. So we're going to reach well over 1,000 kids, but
Would you mind holding that up for
No,
us? Hey, so
absolutely.
moms and dads, if the kids come home and they've got something in the backpack and it's talking about water connects us all, make sure you reach out and ask them about it. Ask them how it went. Ask them what they learned, and ask them perhaps, now that spring and summer are around the corner, if, like you said, the rain-covered garden, if there's something that they'd like to put together this summer that can maybe help us all conserve water.
right.
Sherry, I want to thank you so much.
Thank
hey,
you.
best of luck. You're going to cruise past 1,000. I don't know why I'm saying best of luck, but I'm going to tell you best of luck. And welcome back home from your trip to Iowa.
Yeah, glad to be back.
We'll be back with more KOM Morning News for you right after this.
Thanks.